It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right, awesome. See, everybody's getting a little bit situated. It is Sunday night, January 8th, 2023. Welcome, everyone. This sit down is open, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. By the way, I want to thank everybody who sent well wishes. Band-Aids are off. I don't know if you could see the bruises. I don't know how well that comes off on the video, but yeah, it looks like I got some bruising, some swelling, and by next weekend we'll know if my demise has begun. I think we'll be all right. We'll see what happens, but man, I felt worse today than I did 2 days ago. I started feeling better yesterday, and today, holy shit, it feels like somebody kicked me in the throat. But hey, I don't have to do the shows if I don't feel like doing them, and obviously I'm here, which means I feel like doing it, and we're going to have a good one. So for those that are new to this show, every Sunday night, for everybody who is live, I basically sit back and talk about whatever you want to talk about. For those that are in the live chat, all you have to do is type in capital letters the word question before your question. If you want something answered, if you have a comment you just want to share with everyone, type the word comment. I could spot it a little bit quicker. And as always, super chats are not required, but they are very much appreciated. It helps keep the channel going, and you'll always get some VIP priority. So, and I see one already came in, and who is this from? Because I see Sasha and I see Vince. So this sounds like a loaded question. Who's this from? Shout out to Sticky Fingers, Frank. Love the name, man. 2 questions for you, DT. Does Vince sell WWE, and does Sasha Banks wrestle on this Wednesday's AEW Dynamite? And thank you very much for the 20 spot, my friend. I do appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody who is joining me, whether it's live or on the archive. But remember, if you show up live and you hang out in the chat, it's free. You don't have to be a channel member. You don't even, well, I think you have to be a subscriber. I mean, we don't want, those trolls, and we don't want those random porn bots to come in here. So that's the reason why I have the channel, the subscriber, setting enabled, just so people know. I don't want you to be a subscriber if you don't want to be one. But all right, Sticky Fingers Frank with 2 loaded questions. Does Vince sell WWE? We had a spectacular conversation yesterday. If you're living under a rock, the boss is back in the corporate side of things. I know people out there need Vince to be on the creative side. If Vince does not interfere with the creative side, then a lot of people lose their argument. Listen, as far as Vince goes, it comes down to 2 things. It comes down to either do they sell or do they do an M&A, a merger and acquisition. If they do a merger and acquisition, Vince McMahon could very well end up still on the board of directors. If there's a merger and an acquisition, Vince McMahon probably doesn't have to sell his shares. He would still be a majority of that company. So I think the only way Vince McMahon is truly out of WWE, as I said, is if he dies, if he gets arrested and put in jail, which I don't see happening, or if the company is sold. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to talk about this on Monday in a little bit more detail, but I'm afraid, as far as a pro wrestling fan, of WWE's future if the company is sold. I really believe that, because say what you want about Vince McMahon and his personal bullshit and his creative blunders that he has done more in recent years. You think about the early 90s, the mid 90s, the Monday Night Wars, when the economy started downsliding, and this guy somehow spearheads $1 billion in revenue. I mean, one thing you have to admit, whatever the fuck they do, they seem to always generate success numbers, big numbers. And, you know, with all due respect to those people on social media, the podcasters, the bloggers, and those who are more agenda-driven, you know, they treat WWE as if it's an indie promotion. It's $1 billion, multi-billion-dollar, publicly traded corporation. And you have to look at it in those eyes. You can't just turn around and complain about, oh, he's going to put a mask back on Cross. Oh, he's going to fire people. He's going to screw up Bray Wyatt. You know, that's this compared to the overall picture. I'm afraid if WWE gets sold and Vince is no longer in power and Stephanie and Triple H and others who have been lifers for the most part in pro wrestling, if they start, whoever buys it, brings in their own corporate, you know, I fear that if fans start losing interest in WWE, if the WWE presentation isn't what it used to be, if a lot of wrestlers do not return, Brock wants out, Roman goes to Hollywood, this person leaves, you know, I don't know what WWE's future would look like. So it's like you're damned if you do and if you're damned if you don't. And I personally think a merger and acquisition would be the most likely scenario where WWE, the programming, would remain pretty close to what it is today. I think a full-blown sale, you know, maybe Stephanie stays on for 5 years. What if she quits? You know, already people are trying to, you know, insinuate that Nick Khan is going to quit. Based on what? I've seen so many people in the podcasting world saying that. Based on what? I mean, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. If they do a merger and acquisition, I think, you know, things are pretty much status quo, just, you know, expansion. As far as Sasha Banks, Mercedes Mone, is she going to wrestle on Wednesday's Dynamite? No, I just don't see it. I mean, as a wrestling fan, if she wrestles, I will be very happy. If she shows up, Mercedes Varnado is better for wrestling in it than out of it. Sure, she might be moody. Sure, she might have a few more demands. Sure, she might think that she is the quintessential female in the world of pro wrestling and entertainment. I'm entertained when I see her. So I'd rather have her on my wrestling TV than not. I just don't see it. The deal with New Japan, they just announced that February event for New Japan in San Jose, California. Just think about that. Her first match in New Japan is going to be in the United States, not in Japan. And I just can't see her showing up Wednesday, having a match, and upstaging her New Japan Pro Wrestling debut. I think there's a lot of unknown how she changes her wrestling style. I just don't see. But on the flip side, Tony Khan, the amount of money he has, fuck, if he wants to give her $10 million, he can. Why can't he? He doesn't have to tell you. He doesn't have to tell me. I'm sure he would have to tell the EVPs, and if the EVPs aren't happy about it, I'm sure somebody will leak some type of crumbs in the future. I just don't see her upstaging. Could she do a run-in? Sure. Could she be shown sitting in the crowd? Sure. Can she be baited to hit the ring? You know, yeah, absolutely. But do I see her, because people are like, oh no, Sheeta is going to lay out Tony Storm and Saraya is not going to have a partner and this and that. Those are people, as wrestling fans, want to fantasize Mercedes' debut. And that's cool. That's cool. I have no issue with it whatsoever. Where I have a problem with it is journalists, those who aspire to be journalists, who have told you, not that she might, possibly, likely, you know, eventually. No, they actually are using the words will. She will wrestle Wednesday. And what's going to happen if she doesn't? There's a lot of people out there that are going to look awfully dumb. And it's very revealing. I mean, you see the clickbait. You know, we had the wherewithal to see this years ago as far as I don't want to be first, I want to be right. Now you see, like, even good journalists who used to be good journalists are now caught in that, I got to put my name out there before everyone else. That's why you're now seeing, this WrestleMania match is off the table and this is on the table, because they just want their name on a Google search somehow, some way, and no, I don't see her having a match on Wednesday. I don't. It just doesn't, I can't see them upstage in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm sure Tony Khan would love to. I just don't see Mercedes doing that, to be honest with you. But hey, it's all about the Monet. It's all about the Mercedes Mone. So anything is possible. But thank you for that sticky fingers, Francola. By the way, just regular coffee tonight. Last week, I had a double espresso. I was so wired. I think I went to sleep at like 4:30 in the morning. Not good when you got to work the next morning. So, Michael Gonzalez, which Royal Rumble match is the most rewatchable for me? Ric Flair winning the WWF Championship. I love that match. There are other Royal Rumbles that are just as good, if not better. But I can throw that, and look, I watched it live 30 plus years ago, and it has not lost any shelf life for me at all. It is still, I watch it from beginning to end. Hearing that cowbell rattle and, little thing, the absence of entrance music. When Ric Flair came out and Bobby Heenan, no. Oh, man, everything about that Royal Rumble, I just love from beginning to end. Everything about it. And so many Hall of Famers. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have passed on. That, for me, that is my go-to. That match will always be my go-to. Because, as years go by, and great wrestlers become Hall of Famers, and Hall of Famers become, icons and larger than life. And it just like wine, just gets better with age. Even if we had the most incredible, amazing Royal Rumble in 2023, it's absent of a lot of ingredients that from yesteryear. So for me, that Royal Rumble will always be my favorite. M-Hawk is in the house. Mercedes Mone. Is her New Japan Pro Wrestling promo indicative of the WWE machine's ability to accentuate the positives, and hide the negatives? I know a lot of people were criticizing her, slurred speech, and, I hope everybody realizes that Mercedes Varnado, Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her, she's got a speech impediment. I don't know if anybody has noticed that. I've never scientifically looked if there's ever been a public medical diagnosis. Is it lisp? Is it her overbite? Little things like that, it definitely interferes with her speech a little bit. That's why if you notice, sometimes when she cuts a promo, and this is not criticism on Mercedes at all, but if you watch sometimes when she cuts a promo, she is very deliberate on her words, almost like she is accentuating certain words, like even maybe forcing them out in a certain way, like, and it sounds like her talking in character. But if you see the way she presents her words sometimes, she's very deliberate. Why am I tongue-tied today? She's very deliberate. And that's because of that speech impediment. It's almost like she has to think about some of the words before they come out. And I don't see any issue. Again, a lot of people don't watch Japanese wrestling. The theme music is different. The presentation is different. The way the crowds react in Japan is different. We talked about it Wednesday. They still have a tremendous problem with COVID, with protocol. I saw people with blue check marks, and not because they're subscribed to Twitter Blue. I saw people mocking New Japan that they only drew 23,000. And a lot of that is COVID protocol. The crowd's not reacting like we would maybe in the States is related to COVID protocol. But again, a lot of people out there that don't want to know the facts. If they know the facts, then they can't make the one-liner insults. It's unfortunate, but that is the norm. That is the norm. We don't know if she was drunk. We don't know if she had a couple of, sakis. I have no idea. But again, I didn't see anything wrong with her debut. Challenge made. Let's see the match that she has with Kairi, and we grade it that way. Not everybody, hits a 10 out of 10 with their debuts for a company. So I give it, look, she's got a pretty good track record of being a great performer. Kairi is top quality as far as wrestling goes. I'm a big fan of Kairi's. So I think Kairi being in the WWE will make this match even better because Kairi understands the WWE machine. I think what we watch in San Jose is going to look more like a WWE match than a New Japan Pro Wrestling match. It'll have its moments here and there, but you go to what works best. And, look, Mercedes, new finisher. Kairi didn't take it the right way. You saw the end result. Nothing wrong with going with what you know. And I think instinct kicks in. So you will see a lot of the match that'll remind you of a WWE. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. If Mercedes became this big of a star as Sasha Banks, then why would you want to divert from that in-ring repertoire so much? Why does it have to be so visibly different? Her look, she is tweaking. So I think that's good enough. All right, Indigo. What's up, my friend? In my opinion, what are my thoughts on other content creators who are more concerned with Vince returning to creative instead of being truthful with their audience? Honestly, Indigo, I say this all the time. There's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If that audience, listen, when creators ignore the facts and play on emotion, so everybody yells and screams and curses, that's money for a lot of people. Understand that regular everyday folk do the same thing. You look at social media, how toxic it is with politics and news and culture and everything, COVID, whatever topic you want to pull up. This isn't just the guilt, it's just wrestling fans. This is the world. And those content creators, they know their audience. They know what pushes their buttons. A lot of people like, that feeling, cursing. A lot of people hate Vince McMahon. A lot of people don't like some of the creative he's done. So, they know their audience. So honestly, if that audience is lied to and fooled and wants to only focus on the creative, that's on them. That's on them. In my opinion, if a content creator does it and their viewers know it and they still tune in, I want that content creator to make $1 million. Dead serious. That's why I don't shit on people like I used to, because at the end of the day, they're putting out there, what it is. And if they're telling you that he's back in creative and he's doing this and that, and you buy it and you keep tuning in, you deserve what you get. So I don't criticize the content creators like I used to. So, all right. And Fan, is Vince going to try to be in creative? I don't know. My gut feeling, this is where I think Vince will interfere. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think Vince will interfere. Not the way you believe, though. I think where Vince interferes is, I'll give you an example. All right, WWE is going to have, Money in the Bank in the UK. Is it Money in the Bank? I think it's Money in the Bank. It's going to be in the UK. Now, WWE Creative may think, let's do a rematch, Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. I'm just throwing an example. I'm not saying that match is going to happen. Vince may feel, maybe we should do a 3-way or a 4-way. And I think listen, Vince, and this is not defending Vince. I swear to you, what I did yesterday, I tried to put the facts out there without giving my personal emotional views on this. But the guy owns the majority. He's 83% voting power. You've earned that. So he should be able to. I think for the most part, he doesn't want to fuck up that vibe. You know who's going to fuck up the vibe about the locker room? The journalists that don't like Vince. I guarantee you within the next... They can't do it now because Raw hasn't happened yet. They can't do it now because SmackDown hasn't happened yet this week. But I best damn guarantee you that Monday evening, you will have a bunch of websites say, our sources tell us that the climate in the Raw locker room today about Vince returning is very uneasy. People are very uncomfortable. People are nervous that Vince is going to pull away their opportunity. That is coming. You will see that because there's nobody in WWE is going to call them out and say, you're a fucking liar. So Vince right now, they had a meeting. They told their creators, they told their investors, they told the stockholders, he will not be involved in creative. That's an important thing. You got WrestleMania coming. You got big events coming up. You got millions of dollars of ticket sales. If Vince starts interjecting, we will know in some way, shape, or form. But when they tell, it's $1 billion company, $5 billion, $7 billion, whatever it's worth, they tell their investors, no, Vince is just in the executive, oversee negotiations, other deals. You got to believe them. Not some goofy podcaster out there that is telling you otherwise. I believe what they tell the investors because they could go to fucking jail if they present something and it's totally different. You don't do that with a publicly traded company. If Vince sees a match and feels, you know what, if we did this, it could be more money. He has that right to do that. It's his right. So I do feel that he may interject once in a while if he thinks that something should be added or omitted that could result in more money, more attention, more publicity, whatever. So yeah, I do see that happening. But not the everyday, listen, Vince is not going to be at Raw tomorrow. Vince is not going to be at SmackDown Friday. Vince is going to stay on the corporate side of things. He will be back in Connecticut, and we take it day by day. Anybody that tells you otherwise, they're doing it either because A, they don't like Vince McMahon, or B, they're trying their hardest to get you to tune into their shit, whether it's typed or it's spoken. Rocky Red, Jacksonville Jaguars made the playoffs last night. If they win Super Bowl 57, do I think it would be a weird, awkward, but cool for the WWE to give their custom championship belt to Tony Khan? That is a fucking awesome question, man. That is an awesome question. That it's like, I was thinking about, like, that question is as creative as, you know, when we were talking about Vince McMahon, now he could possibly be Uncle Howdy. And I was saying to someone earlier, you imagine Uncle Howdy walking down the ring with the Vince McMahon walk, you know, like he does. Yeah, that would be really interesting. I personally think WWE would congratulate the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think they would give a championship belt because I don't think, look, I'm not saying that Tony Khan would do a Medusa and throw it in the garbage, but I think Tony Khan would present his own AEW championship. But you want to be, let's be honest, the chances of the Jaguars winning the Super Bowl is very, very small. Listen, I saw Tony Khan's antics yesterday, and honestly, I was happy for the guy. I was happy for the guy. The guy is just a very emotional man, and he gets very, very uber excited. Saw him running and hugging and everything like that. You know, in some ways, I appreciate that because that guy cares. It's not just about business. It's not just about building a successful team. Like, he's not only a boss, he's a fan. And I really have to commend that. But that is great. I think WWE would congratulate them, but I don't think they would send a championship belt. It would be really interesting because some of the players on the team might appreciate a WWE championship belt. But yeah, they probably, out of respect, you know, there is some mutual respect. I think they probably wouldn't. But that's a great question. Listen, compared to the Jaguars in recent years, give them credit for making the playoffs. How far they go, only time will tell. Give them credit. All right. We have another super shout out to give. Oh, wait. Has the boss been on the screen the whole time? Sean KB, thank you for the 2-spot, my friend. Going to Japan this Saturday. New Japan Pro Wrestling has cheering protocol. Thank you. Thank you. Sean is in Japan, everyone. And he has sent me information in the past. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. Listen, there's been many times that I have tweeted the truth about something, and I watch everybody ignore it and just write clickbait instead. And 9 times out of 10, I end up deleting the tweet. And I'm like, okay, people are not interested in the facts. But yeah, that is the facts. There is COVID protocol still in force for these events in Japan. And it is what it is. But have a blast, man. Have a blast. Enjoy it. Chris S. is in the house talking about Edge. Oh, he deleted it. I think he said something like, is Edge going to be coming back? Yeah, I expect Edge back very, very soon. I think Edge is going to be in the Royal Rumble. I think, just for the surprise element of it, yeah, I see him in the Royal Rumble. I see him going after a member of Judgment Day. If you look at the storyline, Edge is not feuded with anybody else for the most part. So, if you're going to bring back Edge, it's probably going to be something with Judgment Day. Listen, a lot of people still think we will get Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley, or Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Me personally, I want Rhea Ripley to get a championship title match at WrestleMania. I want Rhea Ripley to be the one taking on Bianca Belair. I want Rhea Ripley to win the women's championship. So as much as I think the tag match would be a hell of a lot of fun, I'm not 100% sure Beth Phoenix returns to the ring. Now, yes, we have Elimination Chamber, and you remember my original thoughts. Becky wins the Rumble, Rhea wins the Chamber. Now, they did announce on Friday the obvious, whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a championship match at WrestleMania. They have not addressed the Chamber yet. And if they announce that whoever wins the Chamber gets, they may not announce that right away, and then the participants are revealed. I think they have to address Roman with the 2 championships. I'm telling you, I think the scenario of Roman wrestling twice WrestleMania weekend is very, very possible. I think what'll happen, my scenario, I'm sticking to it. Whoever wins the Rumble, whoever wins the Chamber, Adam Pearce is going to announce that those 2 winners are going to wrestle each other for the opportunity to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That match will end up in a no contest. Maybe Sami Zayn gets involved. Something happens. And as a result, the following week, Adam Pearce announces that they both get title shots. And maybe that is what leads to Sami Zayn getting his ass kicked and kicked out of the bloodline. I think that could very well still happen. It almost writes itself if you think about it. We'll see. We'll see. All right, Gabriella Valentine, the last best street fight match that was on WWE TV was when Edge fought Randy Orton at WrestleMania 38. Listen, Edge can still go. They gave him some extra time off, well rested, ready to go, just in time for WrestleMania weekend. And yes, I think he is in the Royal Rumble. We still believe Dominic Mysterio is taking on Rey at WrestleMania. So that storyline is going to pick up a little bit. It's interesting. That's why I think Rhea Ripley, maybe she doesn't get the title shot at Mania. That might be a problem. Because remember, understand this. You have the dilemma with the Elimination Chamber also. Because what happens if you get 2 winners on Raw as far as the women's side goes? Because remember, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, if they win the Rumble in the Chamber, as I said, they're both Raw wrestlers. One of them is going to fight for the Universal Championship, which is a SmackDown title. Same thing on the women's side. If you have Becky win the Rumble and Rhea win the Chamber, that means all 4 winners are from Raw. I don't know if that will happen. So that's why I'm a little concerned about Rhea Ripley and what she does at Mania. So Brian Hunt with the 5 spot. Thank you very much, Brian. I do appreciate that. Great question. If I were WWE, would I give Tessa Blanchard a chance? He's still holding out hope for that match against Charlotte Flair. Listen, we have had wrestlers in WWE at that time, at house shows, calling people horrible words. Caught on camera, weren't fired. That doesn't make better the accusations with Tessa Blanchard. But I say this, there were a lot of people who defended Tessa Blanchard back in the day when this all went down. A lot of people defended her. She swears she didn't say it. We will never know the truth. La Rosa Negra does not come off as a woman who has a vendetta against someone and is going to accuse someone of racial slurs, just to ruin that person's career. What she heard, she believed was slurs. We don't know if that's the case. Still look at the Muda stuff from the other day. Some people think he said the F word. Some people think he said poly. I don't think we'll ever know unless he just comes out and says, yeah, I said this or I said that, which I don't think is going to happen. We'll never know the truth, but I will say this. Tessa Blanchard, since then, there's no incidents really of her doing this or saying this to anyone else. And to have her entire pro wrestling career derailed because of this incident, I think is a little bit much. I could see WWE eventually taking a chance on Tessa Blanchard. I don't know her personally. I don't know how difficult she is to work with others. I don't know if she said what she was accused of saying. I will say this. She stood by her denials. She never wavered. She never, at all, which I kind of commend that, she didn't cave. She's sticking to what she claims in her defense. I don't think her entire career should be derailed because of it. So, yeah, I could see WWE giving her a shot. And I think, honestly, after all these years, I think you'll have a very small amount of noise online about it. And then I think that goes away quickly. There's people that don't like her, but, I don't think her entire career should be screwed because of it. All right. Ray Schott. Who do I feel are the most underrated man and women wrestlers of today's era? Oh, man, that's really loaded. Underrated, as far as not getting opportunities, Ricky Starks comes to mind. Just because he's fighting Jericho, just because he opens up Dynamite, closes Dynamite, gets a month from now, where is he on the food chain? Is he TNT champion? No. Is he tag team champion? No. Is he heavyweight champion? No. It's more concerning where someone with all those belts in AEW doesn't have a belt, can't seem to get a belt. Hobbs is another one. As far as WWE goes, I think Chad Gable at some point should have had a nice little IC title run or a U.S. title run. Chad Gable, I think, legitimately, he just, I think, should go that extra step. But him and Otis, they are friends in real life, and there's a fun little backstory with them from many, many years ago. That tag team, I don't want to see split up anytime soon. Some other wrestlers are just very, very young right now, and you just take your time with them. So, no, I don't see Johnny Gargano. Underrated? No, everybody knows what his value is. I don't like the uber comedic stuff. Let's see what happens with Sanity. Something's got to happen very, very soon. Because if it doesn't, they started those little Easter egg vignettes with Nikki Cross. way too soon. Way too soon. When Nikki Cross is stalking Candice LeRae, and then she doesn't do anything for a month, I mean, that just looks awful. I think they may have started it way too soon. Unless something happens with Sanity. Something with Sanity has got to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, in my opinion. Otherwise, all those vignettes were just dumb. I thought they were very, very stupid. So, JS says he remembers Tessa apologizing for it. Could be wrong. Like I said, Tessa denies ever saying that word. She's sorry for La Rosa Negra for thinking that she said it. Yeah, like I said, her entire career should not be derailed because of it. You know, people still say some pretty nasty things to people today. And, you know, a lot of people just throw a pass to it. There's no evidence of her doing it to others, especially with everything with video now. There's nothing of her yelling at a crazy fan or anything like that. She is very, very talented. The good thing about Tessa Blanchard is she's not in her 40s. So she could return and still put many, many years on the board for somebody and do a lot. So Tessa Blanchard, if she doesn't come back the next year or two, might be her decision to really, you know, not do it like she used to. So, listen, I still remember her run in Impact Wrestling. And I remember, you know, people not happy, the match she had with Brian Cage and others. You know, a lot of people were very, very turned off by it. But you go back and you look at it, I mean, she really did go areas. You know what I think it is? I think with Rhea Ripley, you see the China references. I think Rhea Ripley is so much more liked and beloved. And you want someone who can cross from the women's division into the men's division. They want it to be someone that they like as well. And Tessa Blanchard, for a lot of people, is not that person. That's why a lot of people won't even give her that opportunity. They'd rather it be a Rhea Ripley or somebody who is more, well, like Camille, NWA. Another good example. You know, they are more well-liked and respected. So they want those women to get that opportunity and not Tessa Blanchard. Joseph Morrison. Zelina Vega got released for playing video games on Twitch and nobody cared. Well, a lot of people cared. Mandy Rose gets released for posting half-naked photos on herself online and everybody's upset with WWE. Funny how that works. Well, understand we got two different regimes as far as, you know, in the office. You had Vince and you had, you know, now he's back in the corporate, you know, on hand. I mean, he was never just fishing and not doing nothing. He would listen. Vince was always on the phone, always texting. It's just that it was kept at a hush-hush because of the controversy. Listen, I'm not going to rehash the whole Zelina Vega thing, but the thing you got to understand is using wrestler names on social media, playing Twitch, gaming, whatever it is. The problem is if you make an exception for one, you got to make an exception for all. And Zelina Vega, you know, that was a time where, you know, these outside elements, you know, were pretty much something that WWE had not addressed. And if it remotely, you know, had anything to insinuate that it was Zelina Vega, you know, the WWE character, you know, unfortunately, you know, it got involved, you know, it interfered and she got released as a result. WWE brought her back. But you can't compare Zelina Vega's release with Mandy Rose. Remember what I said when she got released. A lot of people didn't even want to talk about it. You know, it's not that Mandy Rose wasn't given the opportunity to fix this. She was told. Everyone else was told beforehand what the line is. She crossed the line, and she got released as a result of it. She knew what she could and could not do. FanTime OnlyFans, you know, it's similar, you know, a little different, but very, very similar. And listen, I'm a huge Mandy Rose fan, and I am ecstatic that she made $1 million. And we were talking about that before anyone else did. But at the end of the day, she knew exactly what she was doing when she set up that account. Remember, wasn't it Mandy Rose something else, not just Mandy Sachs? She changed her name on there as well. You cannot compare Zelina Vega playing video games with Mandy Rose being half naked. There were sponsors, advertisers. There is this line that should not be crossed, and understand she crosses that line and she keeps her job, other people will cross that line as well. And then you got a major problem. So when people say, oh, Mandy, they didn't give her bullshit. She knew what she was doing. But thank you for that, Joseph Morrison. Gamers block the 5 spot. What's up? George Lucas apparently made $10 billion off his half cash and stock deal. Do I think a similar deal sounds juicy for Vince? George Lucas, Star Wars and things like that is much different than Vince McMahon with WWE. Vince McMahon is close to 80 years old. Vince McMahon knows his days are numbered. You get old. We're all going to pass. We don't know when, but Vince McMahon wants to take care of his grandkids. He wants to take care of his family. He wants to go out on top of the WWE universe, whether we like it or not. And Vince McMahon is going to work out a deal which is best for business. Believe me, that phrase, best for business, is not just something that they would use on TV to kind of like piss off fans. They believe that behind the scenes as well. So if Vince feels that he could do a merger and acquisition and still remain in power, and WWE grows and WWE makes even more money and the stock market reflects it, even if Vince passes on. We talked about that yesterday. Wow, it was only 36 hours ago that we did that. Stephanie McMahon right now only has 5% voting power. She could end up with 85% voting power once Vince is gone. Everybody that doesn't do the research automatically thinks that Linda McMahon inherits everything, that Vince, his power, his stock, and everything else. That's not the case. Vince, I guarantee, has a will and testament. And we don't know what's in that will and testament. So Vince wants to make sure whatever the next decision is, as long as he is still on this earth, as long as he still has 83% voting power, as long as he has majority ownership, he is going to be the one to call the shots. That's what his 2 letters were in December. Look, if you want to make these deals, you're not going to do it without me. Simple. That's it. That's the whole gist of Vince McMahon. He built this company. He owns the company. He has majority voting power. You don't just sit aside and allow that to all go to the waistline simply because it's the right thing to do. No, this is welcome to the world of millionaires and billionaires. A lot of people talk about WWE as if it's an indie fed. You got to look at it. That's why I've always talked about the corporate side of things. If you ignore the corporate side and why things are done, WWE has to answer to the stockholders and the investors, not the podcasters and the bloggers. And they never will, and they never have. Of course, they want to please everybody. But look, whatever Vince could capitalize and benefit from, Vince is going to do. And remember another thing I said the other day that a lot of people are ignoring. USA Network, NBC Universal, Saudi Arabia, some of these other outlets out there, these entities, they want to deal with Vince McMahon. They want Vince McMahon involved. That's why Vince McMahon is back also. A lot of these companies, I don't want to deal with this person. I want Vince. I want Vince involved in this as well. So it is 2 sides. It's not just Vince trying to pull a power grab because he can. It's because a lot of these companies have dealt with Vince for decades. Maybe different owners at different times, but they want Vince in power. So, Philip Matthew with a 5 spot. Much love, my friend. Thank you. More Vince. Do I think Vince could sell a company to Stephanie and Nick Khan? No. To make it doesn't make sense to sell to anyone else. They don't have the money. They don't have that kind of money like that. Listen, just because I have $50,000 in the bank doesn't mean I buy a car for $49,999. Stephanie McMahon owns a very small amount of shares. She doesn't have money like that. Her net worth might not even be $100 million. Nick Khan obviously has a crazy amount of money. Could Nick Khan get a group of investors and buy WWE? Sure. Why not? I know a lot of people keep bringing up Dwayne Johnson, bringing up The Rock. Could happen. Why not? Anything is possible. $10 billion, if anybody pays attention to the business world, $10 billion and a lot of mergers you hear in recent months or a year or two, $10 billion sounds like this. So WWE is not this unbelievably massive, giant conglomerate that only a select. The reason why the companies you hear are the ones most likely to negotiate because it involves media rights as well. Remember what we talked about yesterday? You don't sign a deal with Comcast and sell to Disney. You don't sell to Disney and sign a TV media rights deal to Comcast. So the companies involved, and why would Stephanie and Nick Khan buy it without him, and they have no media rights? They would have to sign a media rights deal with another entity. And what happens if that entity no longer wants to pick up WWE? So WWE's idea is, look, NBC Universal, yeah, we could do a $1 billion media rights deal, but for 5 more, you could own the company. Or we can have a little merger. That's what they're trying to spice up the pot. Not just have a media rights deal, maybe they will own a part of the company as well. So we could very well end up seeing one of those media outlets out there ink a deal. WWE still has a lot of the ownership they have, but expansion. So, no. Stephanie and Nick Khan, I doubt it. A group of investors, I doubt it. The media rights is a huge part of this. You don't have that revenue that coming in. That's why when you talk about the Saudi Arabia deal and you realize one event represents maybe all the money that AEW makes in a whole year. That's an exaggeration, but when you put it in perspective, one event could make up 10 months of all other events combined. Shit like that is serious. So when you work out a deal, company that's going to want to buy it is also going to be able to present it with media as well. So, all right, we got Kevin Milwaukee with a 5 spot. Remember in 1988 when Outlaw Ron Bass took the spur to Brutus Beefcake and bloodied him up, to which WWE put up the giant red X on that screen. Red X. My most infamous WWE Red X moment was Morocco smashing the microphone over Jimmy Snuka's head. Buddy Rogers! Remember, for a lot of you don't know, this set up the feud with Snuka and Morocco, which eventually led to the cage match. Foley was there, and the rest is history. I remember it clear as day. 1983, Magnificent Morocco wearing tan pants, ugly tan pants, bandana around his head, sitting on Buddy Rogers' corner. Buddy Rogers, very, very nice man. Met him a couple of times back in the 80s. But to me, he's human Xanax. You want to fall asleep when you're around him. Too relaxed, too mundane when he did interviews. And that's why when Piper's Pick came around, it's like, get out of here. But he's doing an interview, and Snuka is about to have a match, I think, against Don Cornoodle. And Don Cornoodle, he was either in the ring already or was walking to the ring. But Morocco was doing this interview with Buddy Rogers' corner, and he wasn't talking about anybody in particular. I think he bragged about beating Rocky Johnson, Tito Santana, and then Snuka comes out. And Snuka, obviously one of the most popular wrestlers at the time, he gets this crazy fan reaction. And Morocco just stops, and he's looking, and Snuka's walking to the ring, and Snuka's just very, very, like everybody, just very calm and just, hey, thank you. Little reserved, and Morocco just loses it. This man comes out on my time when the champ is here. He goes to ringside. They're exchanging words. Morocco spits at Snuka. Morocco looks away, and Snuka dives over the top rope, starts ripping out his clothes, ripping him to pieces, beating the shit out of Morocco. And Morocco grabs the microphone, snaps the cord, hits Snuka in the head, and Snuka just blades like you wouldn't believe. And this big fucking red X went on the screen. Pissed me off. I can't tell you how many times I would pause that video and play the VHS tape on super, super slow-mo. And you get that very, very quick moment of Snuka. If anybody's seen it, Snuka pushing his hair back and you see all the blood, and the small red X turned into a giant red X. I'm like, fuck. And you couldn't see it. So WWF back then would censor out a lot of that. And I hated the red X's, but you understand why they did it. But whenever they did it for legit censor reasons. They didn't do it to try to insinuate something that wasn't there. But the red X's, man, they were awesome because you knew something major had just went down and what's going to happen as a result. But, you know, the Snuka one is my favorite of all time. I do remember Ron Bass, but the red X's, that was the one that I will always remember. Never, ever forget that. All right. M-Hawk, do I think Deonna Purrazzo would be as popular if Tessa never left TNA? Oh, you know, the thing is, and I'm not throwing shade on Deonna Purrazzo, a lot of us felt that Deonna Purrazzo, I really don't mean this the way this comes across. Deonna Purrazzo was Impact buying Tessa on Wish. In the sense, hear me out, because I am a big Deonna Purrazzo fan. I like her work. I think she has definitely earned what she has gotten. But at that time when Tessa left, it felt like Impact Wrestling was looking for a replacement of Tessa Blanchard. And Deonna Purrazzo had just gotten released from WWE. Impact Wrestling brought her in. Impact Wrestling immediately put all the attention on her. Didn't Impact Wrestling choose her as Wrestler of the Year? I'm not saying that she didn't earn a lot of awards, but it felt to a lot of us that Impact Wrestling was looking for a replacement for Tessa Blanchard, and that was Deonna Purrazzo. I wish Deonna Purrazzo would have been brought in and built organically from the start, but a lot of us at the beginning, it was a hard sell because it felt like, yeah, you know, they're just trying to replace Tessa Blanchard's loss. But Deonna Purrazzo has worked extremely hard. And honestly, I'm surprised more people don't talk about Deonna Purrazzo going to WWE than Tessa Blanchard. Because Deonna Purrazzo actually could work her ass off and, you know, she can hang, you know, with the top stars. So I definitely have a lot of respect for Deonna Purrazzo. She definitely worked. Listen, when she got that opportunity, she didn't just sit back and just try to, you know, capitalize, you know, just based on the opportunity she was given. She worked her ass off to shut people up, shut me up, shut a lot of people up, that she earned a spot. Joseph Morrison with a comment that he'd like to share with everyone. Thank you for the 5 spot. Mandy Rose deserved to be released. Fans need to realize that, but the Twitch thing is bullshit. Let's be honest, because they let Ronda Rousey. Did you know that Ronda Rousey has a video game? There's an app game called, anybody know what it's called? It's something Ronda. I was watching a YouTube channel yesterday. It's called Criminally Listed. And it's, you know, this guy, you know, heavyset guy, I think from Canada, and he just talks about like murders that are solved. It's incredible how murders 40, 50, 60 years ago are now being solved because of genetic genealogy. My God, if you're thinking about committing a vicious crime in 2023, don't even think about it. Even his asshole with the Idaho murders, you know, they went into the father's garbage and got food. You know, like in the past, how many times you watch Forensic Files and somebody knows that they're being watched and like they drink like from a coffee cup and they wipe it every time. Like they don't put anything in garbage. And you got like detectives are like, fuck, we can't get nothing. Now it's like, oh, fuck you. I go to your mother's house. I go to your brother's house, your sister. And you get the stuff there and then you do. Oh, man. I'm really excited 50 years from now where DNA goes. It's unbelievable. What this has to do with everything else, I have no idea. But I was watching this channel, Criminally Listed, yesterday, and all these people have advertisers. And this guy, one of his paid sponsors for the video game. And it's something with Ronda Rousey. Anyone could do a quick Google search. She's in Raid Shadow Legends. Ronda Rousey is like a feature. Maybe that's the game. She is a feature character, but I think it's like Ronda Raid. It almost sounds like a FanTime page, but I watched it. I was like, holy shit. She's got some outside deals as well. But yeah, look, Joe, Mandy Rose deserved to be released. How many times have I praised the fuck out of Mandy Rose? That Patreon, and I'm not saying there's a Patreon ploy for you all to subscribe, but the day before she got released, when she lost that title to Roxanne Perez, I spent 15 minutes paying tribute to Mandy Rose. This was before we ever knew about the release. I absolutely appreciate how hard Mandy Rose, I compared her a little bit to Trish Stratus. Early Trish Stratus. I have made that comparison many times before she ever got released. So you're talking to a Mandy Rose fan here. And I will even say, yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing. She talked to her fiance about it as well, with Tino Sabatelli. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they crossed that line. WWE said, nope, that's it. They made an example out of Mandy Rose. Look, I don't want to throw names out there, but there's a couple of women in WWE, at least one or two in NXT, that I've told people, do not be surprised if they are gone in 2023 and they open up a FanTime page. Not nudity, but there's one or two women that I see it a mile away. See it a mile away. That they could go on FanTime. They won't make $1 million, but they make a couple of $100,000. The problem is that they're not at that Mandy Rose level yet where they can play that game, leave, go against management, get fired, released or whatever, do your thing, come back a year or two later. They may not get that second opportunity. So, but yeah, Joe, I agree with you. As much as I like Mandy Rose, she deserved the release. Chris says, I'm speaking facts about Deonna Purrazzo. She can work. Yeah, she can. When she first came into Impact, I'm not going to lie, I said it many times. I said, they're force-feeding Deonna Purrazzo. And I don't even know if Deonna Purrazzo was ready for that yet, but she worked. And she's earned it. Seriously. Much love for Deonna Purrazzo. Oh, the Q&A. Q&A is going to be posted Tuesday. I have it done. I just got to, just splice and dice and put it all together. But it's recorded. It's done. It'll be posted on Tuesday. I will tell you the interview, the Forbidden Door episode of Misha Montana. We're supposed to do it Tuesday. It might get pushed back a week or two. She's got the AVN Awards going on. And she, I think, is nominated for a few things. So right now she's a little busy. She's got California stuff going on. She's got Orlando or Florida stuff going on. So I talked to her on Thursday for a few minutes. And this weekend she is tied up. I might talk to her tomorrow, but, we're supposed to do something Tuesday. But, we obviously got to go over everything first because there's a couple of things that I don't even want to lead her in that direction because Matt Riddle knows about the podcast Forbidden Door. He's fully aware of it. And, he knows why she's coming on. But we also, out of respect, we're not going to go in certain areas that could risk, like him having any issues. He's about to return to WWE TV. So we'll see what happens. If it gets delayed a week or two, I'll let you know. Even if he's back on TV, what we plan on doing, we're doing. It's not going to change. Plus, it was funny, her and I talking about XPW. I mean, it's pretty wild when you think about it. She just did stuff with Veronica Kane and, oh my God. Oh, who's Blue Meanie's ex? I just drew a blank. She got the Russian mob after me like 20 years ago. Was going to get the Russian mob after Jasmine St. Clair. She got her ass kicked from Jasmine St. Clair and Veronica Kane. And, we were talking about XPW. I said, oh, yeah? I said, what if I told you that I actually did some work for XPW 20 years ago, behind the scenes stuff? She's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. Told her about look at the Supreme Angel match from '02. Just look at the announcers table. And, yeah, it was pretty funny. We had a good conversation about Rob Black as well. So, Roger Rubio, shout out to you, my friend. Hope everything is well. Kevin Milwaukee says Matt Riddle needs to recognize that DT is no ordinary run-of-the-mill podcast. Listen, I ain't stupid. There's things that I could do here that could double numbers. Not interested at this point. I'm in my 26th year doing this. I'm old. I'm tired. I do this to have fun. I do it to be respectful. Yes, we complain about things. We praise, we criticize, we laugh. But at the end of the day, I just like telling this straight up. It's not the most popular thing right now. Just look at the titles of people's shows, and they're lying to you. But yet people still tune in because they don't care. Sooner or later, that's going to get old. And honestly, I'm having fun, no pressure, And let me tell you something, even with her, just being honest, when she approached me, I said to her, why do you want to do this? And she said to me, she says, you told it like it is. You told it straight up how you felt about it, just using common sense stuff. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to, hit people's emotions. And let me tell you something. Some of the people I call dumpster fires, I've been contacted. One of them sent me a video. I didn't even watch it. Another one told me I better watch what I say. What did I say? I just talk like a regular person. Like, wait, why would this happen and this happen and this happen and this happen? And yeah, it is what it is. I just try to tell like I see it, plain and simple. Trust me, I know the Vince McMahon discussion yesterday after 30 minutes, probably some of you got bored by it. But I wasn't going to start lying just to spice it up and make it lively. 2 people quit. One of them despised Vince McMahon, but, we threw it out there, and that's it. Not going to make allegations that aren't true. Why? So I have to worry about, getting a threatening letter from a lawyer or something? Not interested. Thank you, Chris, for the kind words. Wanted to make mention of this, if you don't mind. Yesterday was 8 years. 8 years that we lost Timmy. Timmy Arson was a good friend of mine. You all knew him as the ECW zombie. When WWE brought back ECW, the first character on TV was that guy. A lot of people still don't know this, but this was a T-shirt that we made in 2001. This is a T-shirt that we made from 2001. Smash the Marks. That's the Blackhearts Sports Entertainment Hotline. You see on the left it says, it's a little blurry, but it says Anthony, and my nickname was Funker because Terry Funker is my favorite wrestler of all time. You had me, Timmy Arson, Mad Zombie, Brian Damage. We were the Blackhearts. And 8 years ago, yesterday, Timmy passed away. And good friend of mine. We did the hotline. We did some wrestling stuff together. I will always be grateful of knowing him personally. I took care of his insurance for a few years. And I'll never forget, he did an interview. I don't remember who he did the interview with, but he didn't want to be the ECW zombie. He loved his look. Timmy Arson, his look was incredible. And he felt strapped as being the zombie. And he credited me because we had this very long, serious talk one day. And, I was telling him, look, most of the indie shows you do are filled with kids. Be the friendly zombie. Let them pull on your hair. That's why if you look at this picture closely, I'm pinching his nipples. I would always fuck with Timmy whenever we took pictures. I told him, be the friendly zombie. You don't have to have blood dripping from your mouth. Just act like a zombie, but you're friendly zombie. And he embraced it, did a little bit more, and he had a ball. And he got booked a lot of places. But Timmy Arson, his physical stature, if you ever look at pictures of him out of makeup, that guy had an incredible look about him, an incredible physique. Unfortunately, just couldn't break through. Johnny Rods, God bless him, he did what he did. We went to Spanish Harlem for a couple of Johnny Rods shows that Timmy was on. But 8 years ago, he died. As far as the cause, I don't make it public, Charlie. His family didn't make it public. His girlfriend at the time, I talked to her. I know the reason why, but, I'm not going to make it public. I'm sure that there's something online you could go look up, but unfortunately, he passed. I will tell you this, it wasn't intentional. Let me put it that way. So, he wasn't looking to pass away. So, but, yeah, he was a good man. He was a good man, and I miss him. So, the Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline, this was another shirt that we had. You know how cool it was to have teams like the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and others in the ring, coming to the ring wearing our shirts? I got video proof of that. I mean, my old intros to my hotline, Blackheart Sports Entertainment Hotline, SATs and others, they all used to tune into our shit. It was fun times, man. I miss that guy. He's a good guy, really good guy. My most famous experience with him, well, there's one story I could never tell with a bar. He was let's just say he was the ECW zombie in a bar, pissed drunk, and he was just doing zombie antics. But when he worked for Frank Goodman in USA Pro Wrestling, he had said something on our hotline about Homicide. And Homicide was pissed off at him. And what happened was they cleared it up. But you know how it is. People love real-life fighting. That's more entertaining than storylines on TV. So I had pitched an idea for the Masked Maniac to have Homicide feud with Timmy Arson on the USA Pro Wrestling shows. And I can't remember the name of the wrestler. I'm going to look it up, and I still have a picture of him. But there was a midget wrestler in 2003 that dressed like he was from the hood. He looked like Homicide's twin brother. And I said to the Masked Maniac, I said, look, why don't you have Timmy Arson call out Homicide and tell him, say, get to the ring. I want to kick your asses tonight, and let the music hit. And then instead of Homicide coming out, this midget black wrestler comes out, and we call him Minicide. And let him do it. And remember, this was right around the time with Booker T and The Rock. Remember the midget sucker? Remember Sucker? You remember that midget wrestler for the WWE TV, Sucker? He imitated Booker T. I wanted to do the same thing with Homicide. Masked Maniac said, Homicide ain't going for that. But I thought it was perfect. The guy wore orange and black, similar to the colors of Homicide. He wore the bandana. And I wanted to have Timmy Arson beat up Minicide. They didn't do it. So, yeah, those shirts are from 99, 2000, 2001. So, yeah, I mean, everybody uses the term marks today. I mean, that shirt, like I said, is from 99 or 2000. At that time, we didn't have a lot of the technology like today. So you would just choose a logo. And we saw this fist on some T-shirt design, and like, how can we use the fist? And we're like, okay, we smashed the marks. Even though probably we were marks. We definitely were marks, so. Jordy Switzer is asking, did I really meet John Gotti? Sure. His wife was at my wedding in 1999. John Gotti was a regular customer in my dad's store. There's an infamous photo. I got to look at it. I mean, I don't subscribe to newspapers.com anymore, but, I've told this story before. In the late 80s, John Gotti was arrested and was charged with a few crimes, and he was acquitted. So my father was never involved. What my father would have to do once in a while is give catering and not charge people for it, and that's how they left him alone. My dad was never involved with the mob. But one time he was acquitted, and he wanted a whole bunch of 6-foot heroes delivered to his house. So me and a couple of workers from the store, we delivered 6-foot heroes to his house. And the Daily News, New York Daily News was outside, and a few others, they're taking pictures of everybody walking by. And I had this hero in my hand like this. And I took pictures. They took pictures. The next day, I'm in the newspaper holding the hero up. They didn't have my name in the paper, but there was a picture of me. And I'll never forget it. I went out to eat with my friends that I hung out with at the time, and I brought the newspaper with me. And I said, guys, check this out. I threw it on the table. Some of my friends who are Italian, who, familiar with that, scene, they looked at me and they're like, you're proud of that? And I was like, I thought they were going to be like, oh my God, that's epic, amazing, unbelievable. That's awesome. No, they were throwing the shit in my face like, you're proud of that? You're delivering food to a murderer and you're happy? And I felt like so small at the time. But kudos for newspapers.com because, now you just download the picture from the site. So, yeah, you see me holding a hero up in the air. So, Gabriella says she heard John Gotti really loved to make a big fireworks display, gave out food. Yeah, 101st Avenue, Ozone Park, Queens, New York. There is some YouTube footage. Somebody posted footage a few years ago of a few minutes on 101st Avenue. I went to a few of them. That was the time when I was, for one night, was a guest, at the cafe over there. I was an honorary member for one day. And, when you see that scene in Goodfellas, when the door opens up at the beginning of the movie and the mother looks at the young Ray Liotta and she says, you look like a gangster. When the father whipped him with the belt, when my father heard that I was hanging out that one night off 101st Avenue with all those guys, my father threatened to beat the fuck out of me. He's like, don't you ever go there ever again. So it seemed like every time I was kind of proud of it, people would like threaten me. Like it was not a good thing. So that was many, many years ago. Why do my parents get an elevator in their house? Because they're old and they physically can't carry groceries up flights of stairs anymore. That's why they did. You want to know something? There is a promotion that still showcases midget wrestling, and I think there's an event coming up in Westbury, New York in a couple of months. Midget wrestling is still around. Now they call it like micro wrestling. For a little while they called it dwarf wrestling. Like midget is not like a politically correct word anymore. Honestly, I find it weird that people who are 5, 6 feet tall are more upset about using the term midget instead of midgets. Like if I had a bunch of midgets contacting me and they're like, yo, then why are you talking about us like that? Then I'd be like, all right, look, out of respect, I won't do that no more. But everybody who used to complain when they used to talk about it, they're all regular size. I'm like, what the fuck you care? You get this guy, you got a problem with midgets? I'm like, how tall are you? You're like 6'2". What the fuck are you talking about? You ever noticed that? Like the people that are upset are more upset than the people who is actually the target or the demo. In a way that's cool because, people should care about others. But, if the midgets aren't complaining, then why are you? If the midgets say, no, I'm good. You're not supposed to be. Michael Gonzalez is best wrestler not to win the Royal Rumble. Oof. I mean, we would have to look at like all the wrestlers in pro wrestling since the 80s and just by process of elimination. I mean, the Royal Rumble in a lot of ways was a way to give someone a world championship match at WrestleMania without a storyline. It was a way to do a quick and easy storyline. Not everybody who has won the Royal Rumble deserved to win the Royal Rumble. Some were very, very surprising. We had Shinsuke. Didn't Shinsuke win a Royal Rumble? Nothing against Shinsuke, but it felt like they kind of like put that out there, almost like, okay, we can't do a regular storyline. Royal Rumble is not, the be all end all to consider the top of the mountain. But my God, you look at the world of pro wrestling and you look at everybody who's been in WWE since the 80s, and you just make a list of everybody that won the Royal Rumble, and then you look, and there's probably about 50 people that have never won the Royal Rumble. So you look at the greatest of all time. Did Shawn Michaels? Wait, Shawn Michaels, he won the Royal Rumble, didn't he? So I'd have to look at the list, but you just look at the top 10 wrestlers in the last 30 years, and whoever didn't win the Rumble, you could just say, those guys right there. He won 95. Yeah, that's what I thought. He definitely won the Rumble. We've had some interesting ones with Brett and Luger and others. Still love Vince's when Vince won the Rumble. When Vince tried to down beers and he's actually drinking it like he's biting the alcohol. If you ever look at him, he almost looks like, I don't want to say a dog. Do you ever see a dog when they try to drink water sometimes? Like if you do it from a hose, like the tongue doesn't come out and instead they're like, that's how Vince was drinking the beer that night. When he was trying to douse the beers, instead of trying to like guzzle it, he looked like he was eating the beer. Tuxedo Earth says, yeah, he's talking about freedom of speech here. Shawn won it 2 years in a row. What did he win, 94, 95? No. You went 95, 96? No, it's got to be 94, 95. But, again, in latter years, it's more. Kurt Angle ever win the Royal Rumble? Why am I? Did anybody check really quick? Like, my mind is not on Royal Rumble matches right now. Did Kurt Angle ever win the Royal Rumble? He never won the Royal Rumble. Okay, so there's my pick. Kurt Angle. Right there. Kurt Angle never won the Royal Rumble. He didn't need the Royal Rumble, if you think about it. It was more just to push it, for a storyline. All right, we've been going 85 minutes. I definitely don't want to overload today because we got a show tomorrow. We got the Q&A going up Tuesday. We have Patreon Tuesday night. If I don't record the conversation with Misha Montana. So it's either going to be Misha or Patreon Tuesday. I'm not sure yet. I will touch base with her tomorrow and see what she wants to do. Plus, I don't even know if we're doing video. Like, I haven't even asked her. Like, I thought about it yesterday. I was like, wait, are we doing video or are we doing audio? I'm sure people would like to see her. But, so we'll start bringing this home. We'll finish this in about 10 minutes. We could do about 90 minutes today. Havili, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you for the 10 spot. Thank you for being the channel member. He wants to know, which version of the Nation of Domination would I like to see in the WWE Hall of Fame? Which version? D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry, Farouk, The Rock. And I think that's it. I don't think PG-13 should be in it. Not that kind of domination. I know they don't hide from it. I don't know necessarily if the Nation of Domination goes in the Hall of Fame. Individually, some names obviously go in. But I'm not convinced that the Nation of Domination will go, maybe 10, 20 years from now. Right now, I don't see them going in the Hall of Fame. You had other members in the Nation of Domination, absolutely. But I think you got to focus on 4 or 5 guys and leave it that way. Even like the NWO. You look at the NWO. It's like, when you think of the NWO, you probably put Hall, Nash, and Hogan in. Do you put Ted DiBiase? Do you put X-Pac? All right, maybe you don't put DiBiase, but you put X-Pac. And that's what you get. You have to cut it off somewhere. I think the same thing with the Nation of Domination. Demolition, I think, will go in the Hall of Fame. The concussion lawsuits were just business, not so much personal, but, obviously WWE did take it personal to a degree. And I think Demolition will be in the Hall of Fame. I really do. I think since those concussion lawsuits are now long gone, and since, you don't hear an Axe and Smash really throwing a lot of shade WWE's way, I think Demolition will be in the Hall of Fame sooner than later. They definitely deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, no. I do not put Scott Norton in the NWO Hall of Fame. Not in the WWE Hall of Fame. Although Scott Norton, very underappreciated. All right. Antonia says his best version of the Nation is Farouk, The Rock, D'Lo, Godfather, Mark Henry. Yeah, those are the 5 that I would put in. But again, I don't know if they go in. I think the Godfather on his own deserves it. D'Lo, as much as I like D'Lo, obviously for various reasons, love doing a podcast with him. Love that he used to bring my shit to Japan to play for. We got all know that story. But even with that, D'Lo is so borderline as far as Hall of Fame. I don't know if I would put D'Lo in. And I'm not trying to say that to be nasty in any way. I think if you include his accolades and all the work he's put in with Impact, I think D'Lo Brown deserves to be in a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. For his entire portfolio, let's not forget what he did with Smoky Mountain. D'Lo is not just... However he does that with his shoulders, I used to love D'Lo's theme, by the way. D'Lo Brown used to go to Japan, and a lot of the wrestlers, when they go to Japan, they would hang out and just listen to like American music, American podcast. And D'Lo used to bring the podcast, especially when it was part of the Minority Report. He would bring the podcast to Japan, and he would play it like for A-Train and a whole bunch of others, and they were all enjoying the shows. I have audio of him telling me this. And at that time, because you always had those people that were accusing me, oh, you're racist and this and that. I said to D'Lo live on the show, I have the recording still. I said, D'Lo, you just get offended, when I crack some tongue-in-cheek jokes? He's like, no. He says, you joke about everybody, including, Italians. He says, there's no malice behind it. And it really cemented to me that, that meant a lot. Because the haters out there, and the haters will always push this narrative about people. It gets a little annoying afterwards. That's why I don't want to be around, certain people, because of that climate and the drama and this and that. And it's not just any one person. There's thousands of people out there that are like that. But, they hear that, yeah, we all tune in and we find the shows hilarious, and we're just regular guys just talking about wrestling, talking about things that aren't even wrestling. It meant a lot, man. What would mean a lot is if you all hit the like button before we go. I don't know, kind of getting little embarrassed, having to ask people to subscribe or hit the like button or join Patreon or anything like that. You know what's out there. If you want to go check it out, go ahead. Roger Rubio, what do I think 2023 has in store for Bayley? Do I think she wins another women's championship? Yeah. Bayley will be a women's champion before the end of 2023. I don't know why. I'm just going to throw it out there. You know what match keeps crossing my mind with Bayley? Props to the first person who could pick the one, and I know someone's going to say it right away. I could tell. Who do you think I picture Bayley having a match with, and ultimately with a women's championship involved? Who do you think keeps crossing my mind? There's only one person that keeps crossing my mind over and over and over again. Who out there? Okay, keep going. When I see the name, I will give props. Definitely not Michael Cole. Okay, keep posting. I'll let you know if I see the name. I might have seen the name already. Keep posting. All right, we could stop. Alexei Brusilov, you nailed it. I don't know why. I keep seeing played out in my head Roxanne Perez versus Bayley. I see it over and over and over again. Would not be surprised if Bayley becomes the NXT Women's Champion again before 2023 is over. I'm telling you. I see her feuding with Bianca. I see her feuding with others. I could see her feuding with Charlotte. I could see the usual suspects. For some reason, I close my eyes And I just think that actually would be a better match than people would expect. I think that would be huge for Roxanne Perez. It would kind of mirror Dolph Ziggler and Braun Breaker. Remember when Dolph Ziggler won the championship? Oh, why are they taking over Braun Breaker? Because that was the storyline. Braun got fooled. Rookie mistake. Braun got the title back. Hasn't lost it since. Braun, that was the storyline. Rookie mistake. Dolph capitalized. Braun learned his lesson. Got the title back. Rest is history. I think the same thing is going to happen with Roxanne Perez. I think that's going to happen. I'm telling you. Roxanne Perez versus Bayley. NXT Women's Championship. I think WWE should do it. And it's not a demotion. It's not a demotion for the New Day. You know, that's pretty cool. And look, you talk about Triple Crowns and this and that. You know, I like that they're treating the NXT championships with a little bit more legitimacy. It doesn't feel as much of developmental. But it is. But it is. All right, we're going to wrap this up in about 2 minutes, so we stick at 90. Bayley versus Serena Deeb would be a really fun match. I could see that like on an indie show or a charity show with some benefit, you know, something to benefit. I don't know if we'll ever get that in WWE or AEW or anywhere else. I think that would be a fantasy match. I could picture that for charity. If we ever see a charity event come up and we see various promotions all getting together and doing something for charity, Bayley and Serena Deeb is definitely one I would like to see. M-Hawk, do I think the majority of the returns of released wrestlers have been a major flop? No. I think some were brought back. Everybody has a role in that company. You know, just like a movie, you have, you know, the main characters, you got, you know, your secondary characters, supporting actors, supporting actresses, and then you got, you know, people that fill in minor roles, and then you got, you know, plants. You know, you got like, you know, just people fill the rooms. And I think, you know, WWE was lacking some wrestlers that could eat up some losses. Unfortunately, you know, their choice of people, you know. So, no, I don't think it's been a total flop. Some have been disappointing, no question. But I think you got to give it more time. There's a lot going on. Now we got the Royal Rumble. Now we got the road to WrestleMania. Some of those names are not going to get that kind of opportunity. So now they got to just tread water. Tread water. Focus is not on them. That's where they should take the time and focus on correcting things, building things, accentuate some positive, hide some negatives. You know, I don't want to name drop anybody in particular, but I'll do one before we get out of here. Hit Row. Hit Row. You know, I said this a long time ago, and I got ripped for it. You know, Hit Row, their rap felt that there was tension. It felt angry. It felt, you know, hostile. You know, and I got people who are black and into hip-hop like, yo, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. We're fucking hostile and this, that. It's, understand, the hip-hop community is not the WWE universe. It is a portion of it, but the everyday wrestling fan, it comes off as hostile. So now seeing them turn heel and be a little bit nasty over it, fucking, I'm interested. I'm interested. You know, AJ Francis, guy just started. You know, he should not be doing dives off of top ropes. But, you know, that's been a little bit of a disappointment. All right, before we get out of here, the last one for tonight, Havili with another 10 spot. Thank you very much, my friend. If Mandy Rose didn't get released from NXT and lost to Roxanne, would I see Asuka beating her since she never lost the title? I think Asuka in NXT would be fun and awesome. But I think of Shinsuke. And does that like sound off any? Remember Shinsuke showing up in NXT not too long ago? Whatever happened with that? Nothing really ever came from that. So Asuka, she's got to have the right opponents to have matches with. Asuka is so dominant. I don't know if Asuka would fit in NXT right now. I mean, she would have great matches with Zoe Stark and some others, but Asuka would have to be very watered down to fight some of the, opponents in NXT. Bayley is more character. Cut promos, do gaga in the ring. That's why I think Bayley would fit like a glove and help some of those women. Asuka, it's very, very one-sided. It would be a little bit of a hard sell for me with Asuka. Not anything negative with Asuka, but, All right, one more question and we're out of here. From Gruss. Do I see Vince McMahon taking over creative to put certain wrestlers in a position to present a product to sell? No. I talked about this at the beginning of the show. If Vince McMahon sees a pay-per-view, a premium live event, a big event seating 40, 50, 60,000 seats, and a main event is being, pitched, and he sees that maybe if you add this or if you tweak this or maybe if you do this, it could be even bigger, that I could see him doing. But as far as him saying, look, Bray Wyatt, thing's not working, let's scrap it, I don't see anything like that at all. You're going to get pay attention for the next 2 weeks. You're going to see a lot of the anti-Vince McMahon journalists painting all of these negative narratives about wrestlers feeling uneasy, on eggshells. Vince is trying to interject here. If we see a change of somebody on TV we don't like, Vince had a role in it. You're going to see the anti-Vince McMahon people throwing it out there. When you see any of that said or written, just pay attention of the person delivering that message. 99 out of 100 times, it's going to be somebody who does not like Vince McMahon, who will push the anti-Vince narrative to his grave. And they will be the ones putting that out there. Just like the flip side with AEW. You have those journalists that are fed crumbs from the elite media, the elite media getting from the EVPs. You could tell from a mile away who is being fed that shit. Every time there is buzz against a wrestler that the EVPs don't like, that the fans are taking the side of, from Miro to Andrade to Thunder Rosa and everyone else, there is always that elite journalist out there who has some comeback story within a week, and it's always against that said wrestler. There's always a comeback, and that is designed to simply silence any momentum that person may be getting across the wrestling community. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. I hope you all have a great evening and day, because I know there is a time difference for some of you out there. If you enjoyed the show, smash that thumbs up. Hey, if you know any marks, smash the marks. Smash the marks. Boom. All right, I'm going to go rest this voice, try to get a little bit of early sleep tonight. I want to thank you, as always, for the support. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. You have any secondary, tertiary questions following up from today, post it in the comment section. As you saw, I spent about 2 hours today responding back to comments from this week. So I will do a little bit more tonight before I crash. But always appreciated. Much love. And I'll see you tomorrow night after Raw. And we will definitely cover Raw. We'll get into anything else that comes out regarding the Vince stuff. We'll try to sift out the bullshit. We'll see who falls into the trap of what we talked about earlier, and anything else that goes on. Wednesday's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what happens and doesn't happen with Mercedes Mone. So, everyone, much love as always. I'm out of here. Be well, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.